This now brings us to our weekly speaker spot. Every week, one of the members of Business at Breakfast gets pulled out of the crowd with literally no warning whatsoever and put in the hot seat to tell us more about what it is that they do. They're not allowed to talk aimlessly. I do give you a couple of parameters, and if you follow the guide, what were the words? Trust the process. If you trust the process and follow my guidelines, you'll end up with a bunch load of questions, and we will drag out of you the information that we need to know about you and your business. Today, we have the wonderful, he's managed to get out of this for a while now, Peter Ellis. Hello, Peter. I've got you as the speaker spotlight today. So Peter's been with Business at Breakfast for a number of years now, and so it's good to have you as our speaker today for the rest of the group. So Peter's from Your Silent Partner. He's otherwise known as the Business Whisperer. Peter, here's what I want you to do. I want you to do your elevator pitch again. And in that elevator pitch, just make sure you tell us what it is that you sell. And I say that in inverted commas because I know yours is a service, but it's still something. And then the quick history of how you came about selling this or helping people in this field space. And then after your very fast history, stop talking so we can ask questions.
Okay. So the elevator pitch is small to medium businesses, business owners. Let me get myself sorted because obviously I wasn't ready. Small to business owners are often frustrated by the glass ceiling they can't get through, as their competitors seem to have done. I design the scaffolding that supports the organisation's structure and guide management in the activities needed to control and manage their business. Now, the way this all started was I was always interested in economics and business at school. And I did a Bachelor of Business when I finished. And I went into a small fashion company after that was in trouble. They were third generation and they were struggling. And what I was able to do was increase their sales by 700%, not by being a good salesperson, because I'm not, but by getting agents, seeing what was wanted, to the extent that they couldn't cope with the production. So I then took over the production and then I became general manager. So in the end, I was basically running the whole business and I took them up to about $20 million or something like that. 20 million pounds, which is about $60 million internationally. While I was doing that, I learned French and German in my spare time, so I could speak to people all over the world, which I found very interesting, particularly when I was in Belgium and I had one customer looking at me and shouting very slowly in French at me, and I realized what it was like when you shout slowly in English at someone who doesn't understand the language. So there was a whole bunch of stuff that was going on. But while I was doing that and going around to exhibitions and so on, people came up to me and asked me to help them. Eventually, I was helping people and getting paid more to help people than to work with this other company. So that's what I've been doing for the last 30 or 40 years. Now, when I came to Australia, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not originally from Australia. I understand the language, but I don't speak it. And what happens is, I'm saying this, and Bonnie's laughing at my jokes, which is wonderful. At least one person's listening. But while I was here, I noticed that everyone had an MBA. So I thought, well, I better get one of them. And of course, because I've been doing about 9 or 10 years or whatever it was of business consulting, I know everything there is to know about businesses because I got a bachelor in business. So I did something that I hadn't planned to do. I opened a book and was absolutely knocked out by the amount of knowledge I didn't have. So I did my MBA, loved it, but I was addicted to learning. So then I did a Doctor of Business, and the area I was working in I was working with a guy who worked with the Australian government to say what businesses owners needed. My doctorate was about to see if any of that stuff worked. So I was looking at the contribution of management education to solvency, and I discovered that there were only 3 things that actually worked. One, and none of these, when I started, I thought would work. So I was totally wrong until I researched it. One was the 2-hour seminars that the Department of Development did, because people could take that information and put it straight into their business. That's the key thing. If you teach something to people, teach them something that they can put straight into their business. It's not just knowledge, it's actual practical activity. They love it. Then I said, I'm not going to do any more study. I've knocked it on the head until my kids went to university, and I fell off the wagon, and I did a PhD. And the PhD originally was going to say, how do you go from a small business to a medium business? And that's when I discovered that there were no definitions, real definitions, for micro, small or medium business, only within an industry or for banks, but not in reality. So there are many small businesses that were bigger than medium businesses, which was ridiculous. So I looked into all of that. And then while I was doing that, everyone said, well, fantastic, you've got the definitions. But then I discovered this. Number one, about 85% of all businesses are micro, and that's all they really want to do pretty well. So you've got 15% of other businesses, 4% are small businesses, 1% are medium business, which leaves 10% of businesses. And that 10% of businesses are stuck in between micro and small and medium. My speciality is getting them out of being stuck, right? And what I do is I say, look, there's 5 activities that all business, whether it's a micro or corporate, need. That is planning, having the skills, having a structure, having processes and procedures, and having a culture and action plan. And when I reviewed and spoke to hundreds of businesses, said, why are you successful? They all gave different reasons. And then I said, well, what about these 5 things? And every successful person said, oh yeah, I do that. Doesn't everybody? And the answer is no, only the successful people. And so that's what I show. So you have them, but they change as the business grows. And it's those changes that I put in place for people. There you go. My name is Peter Ellis. My business is called Your Silent Partner, and I'm fun to be with.
Excellent. All right. Who has some questions for Peter? I know I do. Peter, can you give us an example of just 2 examples of clients that you've worked with, like businesses, maybe the industry, like are they plumbers or are they manufacturers?
Okay, I
What are they?
mostly
Give us
work
2
with
examples.
professional businesses, but small to medium businesses. I had one business where a guy was set up by the Victorian company to work in Brisbane, and over about 10 years he built the business up. It was a manufacturing business, but the thing was that he had departments, but he ran every department, and he was stressed to the max. So the people in Melbourne set up another guy to do it, and within 1 year they were double his size because they put everything in place. And when I showed him that and explained that to him, he wasn't interested. He was happy to be stressed to the max and have a heart attack soon. So the thing is that not everyone is ready to change. I work with hundreds of companies. I had a company that wanted to sell their business for 600,000. They put flowers into hospitals and restaurants and so on and so forth. Wanted 600,000. They were offered 300,000 and asked me to talk them into giving him more money. I said, I can't talk them into it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to change your accounts. I'm not going to change the sales. I'm not going to change the net income, but I'm going to change the middle, because over 90% just have all the expenses in alphabetical order. And I changed it into 3 different profit levels. You've got the gross profit, which is a percentage. And so long as you know what that percentage is, you make sure that it stays about the same, because that percentage is what pays the operating costs. And I changed the operating costs because he was showing a loss. And the operating cost showed a massive profit. He said, well, how come it's showing a massive profit? I said, because these two things that you bought for your retirement have got nothing to do with the business, and that's what's making it a loss. You bought a caravan and a boat, got nothing to do with the business. So when these people saw that, they saw he had $700,000 worth of assets, which they wanted to use, and they gave him the 600,000 if he stayed in the business and ensured that he'd introduce them to the new customers. So these different mindsets are ones that I offer. So instead of offering 300,000, they offered him 1.3 million. So this is the sort of thing that I can do with people. But if people are growing and they're saying, look, I can't take my business any further, I don't know how to do it, that's when I show them and I work with them those 5 elements, those 5 activities, which or criteria. And once they can see that, they then feel comfortable to move forward and develop. Because I say, do you want to stay as a micro business, or do you want to be a micro plus, just a little bit more? Come to network meetings, go to this, do this, and that way you'll have more sales if that's all you want. If you want to be a small business, this is what you need for a small business. You need some more people bringing in money, not just you. And I show them how to do that. If they're small, I show them how to start developing departments, how to let go. Letting go is a definition. I took a definition. Letting go is just like don't do things, but I put them into different areas. Letting go from micro to small and letting go from small to medium are different. You're still in control, but you're not actually physically doing the stuff. So I had a company that was making posters, and they said, these people, I had to sack them all because they're very good at drawing things, but they just got no idea what we want. So I saw that they just didn't explain what they wanted. So I put in place something called a hazard analysis critical control point, and say, look, just get them to do this amount, check it for 5 minutes, adjust it if it needs adjusting, go to the next section, go to the next section, and so on. And you'll get exactly what you want. And you've only had to work 5 minutes a week instead of 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
To get this work done. And that totally changed their business. Instead of them having to do everything, they understood how to manage people, how to manage their organization. And I do that in every area and every element so they can understand what's needed and how to do that. So that's really what I do, show people so that they know how to do it. So I don't do it, I understand and show people to understand their accounts, but I'm not an accountant, I'm not a lawyer. I don't do marketing or anything like that, but what I do is I show them how to understand those sections of business so that they can then speak to someone who's an expert to assist them.
Excellent. I get what you're saying. I'm not generally a social media marketer, but I understand how it works and how marketing and advertising works with regards to making sales work. So I understand the process. You know, my boys will tell you all, I am not a YouTuber. You have 428 subscribers on your channel, Mum. You're not a YouTuber. And yet I know more about YouTube than the average person. You know, from doing things. Talk to Kathy. She knows even more than that because she touches more stuff than what she does, whereas I look at it a different way and I see what everybody else touched and see how that works. So so as a general rule, while we may not be that officially, we have the understanding and then how to use that as well. So I understand what you're saying is you don't have to be, you personally don't have to be a bookkeeper or an accountant or a lawyer to understand how all of it works in business, but you've been around businesses enough to understand where they integrate in and then where things need to be changed and then who and when to go see different things. So I get
this is it. In the different courses I've done, like the bachelor business touches on everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a toucher.
Yeah. Yeah. They say to become like a building inspector, you don't have to be a builder to start with. You can just learn it. However, if you have worked on building sites or done a trade in the building industry, you will notice more things about builders than what the average person who becomes a building inspector. My Simon is not a builder. He never did a trade as a builder. He's a baker, actually. However, if he decided to get a license as a building inspector, he would probably notice more things than most people, because he gets out and he touches stuff and he walks on the roof and he gets inside the cavities and he touches things. And, you know, he's not an electrician, but he moves things around. He says, I'm going to paint the house and I'm going to take the lights off and I've got to get in the roof. And because he touches things around the house, see, Caroline, because he touches things around the house, he'd actually be really positioned really well to be a building inspector and probably notice more than the average building inspector, because he's used to looking as a homeowner for a mistake so that he can fix it. Because he likes to tinker. He's a bit like Tinkerbell, but a boy with no wings. So there you go. That's my husband. All right. Thank you, Peter, for being our speaker today, and thank you, audience, for being the audience and being part of Peter's audience there. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Sorry?
Thanks for allowing me to talk.
You're absolutely welcome, Peter. It was time. It's good to hear the back end of what it is that you do. I've heard you say it a few times over the years from different groups, so it's really nice to be able to allow you to share this with the rest of everybody else.